With President Joe Biden out of the running, Vice President Kamala Harris is vying for top place of the Democrats' 2024 election ticket, adding another twist to the poll pulse in America. Once Biden's running mate, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris is now looking out for her running mate as well, and also upping the ante against Republican candidate Donald Trump. She has called these elections a choice between freedom and chaos. And interestingly, opinion polls by Reuters and Ipsos has projected Harris taking a marginal lead over Republican candidate Donald Trump. Fuzail Ahmed of DD India gets us more.
It was the first campaign rally in Milwaukee in Wisconsin by U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris after she replaced President Joe Biden as the Democratic presidential candidate. Harris went on the offensive against Donald Trump, saying she knew Donald Trump's type.
Before I was elected vice president, before I was elected United States Senator, I was elected Attorney General of the state of California, and I was a courtroom prosecutor before then. And in those roles, I took on perpetrators of all kinds. Predators who abused women, fraudsters who ripped off consumers, cheaters who broke the rules for their own gain. So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
On the other hand, the Republican presidential nominee, Donald Trump, attacked her record and dubbed her Lion Kamala. On his Truth Social platform, Trump wrote, "Lion Kamala destroys everything she touches." Trump will hold his first campaign rally since Harris emerged as his near-certain Democratic foe in the 2024 election. The former president will appear at an event in Charlotte, North Carolina. The U.S. election has generated interest in other countries as well. On Wednesday, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz said he believed it was very possible Kamala Harris would win the U.S. election.
Es sind die amerikanischen Bürgerinnen und Bürger.
The election campaign in the USA will certainly be exciting now with a slightly new lineup and a new constellation. I want to say very clearly that it is impossible for any one of us here in Germany to predict the election outcome. I think it is very possible that Kamala Harris will win the election, but the American voters will decide.
While Russian Foreign Ministry said on Wednesday that the upheaval surrounding the U.S. election, including an assassination attempt against Donald Trump and the exit of President Joe Biden from the race, showed the divisions in an American society in danger of falling into a nosedive. While according to a White House statement, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who is visiting the United States, will meet U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris separately on Thursday. In India, villagers in Kamala Harris's ancestral village of Tulasentirapuram in Tamil Nadu were brimming with excitement.
Vice President Kamala Harris is from our village and will be nominated in the US presidential race. We are very happy and confident for her victory. We wish her the best and hope that the relationship between both the countries improves.
As the first black woman and Asian American to serve as Vice President, Kamala Harris would make further history if elected the first woman president of the United States. Bureau Report, DD India.
DD India's Jagrati Dave joins us live from Washington, D.C. Jagrati, hi. This is getting now very intense. Bring us up to speed as far as Democrat camp is concerned. We've seen how Kamala Harris has appeared to kind of quickly gained the support necessary to become the party's official presidential candidate. But the question now also shifts on to who is she going to pick as an election running mate.
Yes, indeed it does. You've had a lot of top Democrats speaking out, saying that they endorse her. Obviously, the current president, Joe Biden, was the first to do so. You've had people like Chuck Schumer in the Senate. He, a senior Democrat, who has also come out saying that he gives his backing to Kamala Harris. And so I think, the Democratic leadership is really backing her, trying to project a sense of unity to really get behind this new candidate who's really part of the existing ticket, but just now at the top. In terms of the voters, you've got a recent Morning Consult poll that was conducted after President Biden dropped out that says that 65% of Democratic voters support Kamala Harris to lead. And you've got another recent PBS NPR Marist poll which is saying that 87% of all Americans think it was a good idea for Joe Biden to drop out. So there's clearly been some sort of change in the mind of the electorate of the repositioning at the top of the Democratic ticket. But I think in the weeks to come, it's really a case of how Kamala Harris is introduced to voters to see if there is more of a shift in the polling. As you mentioned, recent polls suggest that she's edged it in front of, just edging it in front of Donald Trump. Other polls are showing them neck and neck. And obviously there's different pictures across the country. So I think that's something to really look at very closely.
All right. And the larger question whether she's going to be able to maintain the momentum of this edge going forward. But is there a renewed sense of Democratic presidential enthusiasm in their camp? Her ratings are ahead, her donations are swelling up. The question is also about, is this going to be constant or consistent enough?
That is the question. In that time, 24 hours after the Biden announcement, she raised $81 million, which is the largest amount raised in this election cycle in a 24-hour period. And you've got Democrats on the ground, some in swing states, saying that there is more enthusiasm to vote among Democrats now that Harris is at the top of the ticket. But you've also got strategists who are saying that actually local Democrats will be running local campaigns based on their House or Senate areas, districts, rather than looking to run a campaign based on the top of the ticket, because the local candidates, the senators, the House representatives were outperforming Joe Biden, and there's a sense that that might still continue in those tightly run seats with Kamala Harris at the top. But if she continues to make herself known to voters, if she improves on her performance in the last time she ran for office as a presidential candidate, where she wasn't really able to articulate her policies, given the experience that she's had as vice president, if she can improve on that, she might be able to turn things around and continue some of the enthusiasm that Democrats are saying they're seeing on the ground at this stage.
Yes. How do you see the campaign now, the way it's turning really vitriolic, the kind of attacks that are coming from Kamala Harris and the counters coming from Donald Trump? Is there a sense of reset going forward? Campaign getting very intense?
Well, I think following the assassination attempt on Donald Trump, everyone was talking about unity and calls for unity. But, the Republican nominee really sort of undermined those calls that he himself had made with the ongoing attacks on the Democrats. And, Kamala Harris, as you mentioned in your lead there, has been framing this campaign as a fight between a prosecutor and a convicted felon. So I think the attempts at unity are probably going to be dropping by the wayside as the campaign in the short weeks and months remaining to November really gets underway, with that sprint to the finish line, with both sides recognizing that they really need to go on the attack to try to win what appears to be a tight contest.
Right. We'll leave it there. Many thanks, Jagruti Dave, for joining us live from DC and putting the story in perspective. Thank you.